In this timeline, the concept of limitation did not shatter. It forgot how to apply itself. By the time the Watcher realized observation itself was becoming participatory, causality in Universe 616 was already rewriting its own axioms. This is not the story of how Superman visited the Marvel Universe. This is the story of what happened when physical law encountered something it had no framework to constrain. The breach occurred at 11:47 a.m. East, above Manhattan. No dimensional tear, no cosmic event. Superman simply arrived, stepping through empty air as if walking through a door that had always been there. Reed Richards detected it first. His dimensional scanners registered the arrival as a negative reading. Not the absence of energy, but energy subtracting itself from the equation. The instruments displayed his mass as error. Value exceeds universal constant allocation. That's not possible, Reed whispered. Mass can't exceed the universe's ability to accommodate it. That would mean... The readings updated. Universal constant allocation increased to accommodate subject. Previous maximum revised retroactively. Historical mass limits no longer. Accurate reality had changed its own records to make room for him. Tony Stark's armor HUD attempted a threat assessment scan. The diagnostic AI cycled through every classification protocol. Omega-level mutant, celestial, abstract entity, fundamental force. Each category rejected the input. Finally, it displayed subject classification, yes. Not yes to a question, just yes. Affirmative as identity. Thor arrived first, Mjolnir crackling. He'd fought gods, eaten stars, broken worlds. The hammer recognized power. It was forged to recognize power. When Thor raised it towards Superman, the enchantment didn't activate. The worthiness clause remained intact. The divine energy remained stable, but the weapon refused to compare itself to the target. "Mjolnir," Thor commanded. "Assess threat level." The hammer grew hot in his grip. Runes flickered along its surface, not Old Norse, but something older, pre-linguistic, mathematical. When Thor looked down, the inscription had changed from "Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor," to "Worthiness protocol suspended, comparative ethics undefined, recommendation, diplomatic contact." His weapon was afraid to judge. Doctor Strange materialized through a portal, the Eye of Agamotto already open. He immediately closed it. "Don't," he said to no one in particular. "Don't try to look at his timeline." "Why?" Reed asked through comms. "Because it doesn't end. I looked forward. Standard precognition. I've done it 10,000 times. The future didn't show me his death or his choices or branching probabilities. It showed me more of him. An infinite corridor of this exact moment, repeating, with no decay and no variation. The timeline didn't branch around him. It accepted him as a constant. Strange's third eye, the metaphysical organ that perceived truth beyond matter, began to bleed. Not blood, certainty, liquid conviction dripping down his face. The Eye of Agamotto measures threat by comparing a being's power to universal durability. Strange continued, his voice shaking. It just told me that universal durability is a dependent variable, that he's the independent one. Superman floated above the city, scanning for context, trying to understand where he was. His X-ray vision activated automatically, a reflexive gesture, harmless. Every wall within a 3-mile radius became transparent, not metaphorically, not to his eyes only. The molecular bonds holding structures opaque forgot they were supposed to block light. Buildings throughout Midtown Manhattan turned to glass. Millions of people suddenly visible in their homes, their offices, their most private moments, exposed because Superman looked. He shut down the vision immediately, horrified. The buildings remained transparent. Physics had taken notes. "This is allowed now," the universe concluded. Opacity is negotiable. The Avengers assembled in full. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Every sensor trained on the floating man in the red cape. Every weapon ready. Hulk's gamma radiation readings spiked. Adrenaline, anger, the precursor to transformation. Bruce Banner felt it coming, the monster rising, power levels climbing toward planetary threat capacity. Then his readings flatlined. Not dropped, flatlined. The gamma energy remained in his cells, active and potent, but it stopped increasing. The Hulk's core function, the madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets, had been switched off. Banner looked at his hands, confused, terrified. It's still there, the power, but it's not growing. It's like it hit a ceiling and stopped. Not a ceiling, Reed said, staring at his instruments. A comparison. The gamma radiation is still escalating, but the universe is measuring it against him now, and in that measurement, your increase rounds to 0. You're still getting stronger, Bruce. Reality just stopped caring. If you're enjoying timelines where power actually breaks the universe, subscribe, because this story only gets worse from here. The President contacted the Fantastic Four directly. We need a power assessment, full spectrum analysis. Can we contain this being if necessary? Reed Richards ran the calculations for 72 hours straight. The Baxter Building's quantum processors worked continuously, modeling every possible containment scenario, every weapon system, every cosmic failsafe the Marvel Universe had ever developed. The simulation results returned identical outcomes across all scenarios. Subject cannot be contained because containment implies limit. Subject's observable properties reject limitation as framework. Recommended action. None. Any action against subject will be interpreted by physical law as exception rather than rule. In simpler terms, they could attack Superman. The universe would simply decide their attacks were special cases that didn't disprove his invulnerability. Reality would protect him by rewriting causality around each assault. The Watcher appeared to Reed that night, a violation of his sacred oath, but desperation overrode protocol. I have witnessed the birth of galaxies and the heat death of universes. I have observed entropy and eternity, but I have never seen physics defer to a person before. He is not breaking your laws. He is being grandfathered in. Your universe is treating him like legacy code it cannot update or remove, so it is building everything else around him. How do we fix it? Reed asked. You don't. This is not damage. This is adaptation. Your universe is learning a new language, and he is the only fluent speaker. The Scarlet Witch attempted a probability manipulation, a desperate measure, but Wanda Maximoff could alter reality itself. She reached out with her chaos magic, preparing to shift Superman into a universe where he never arrived. Her powers inverted. Instead of changing him, they changed her. Wanda's hex bolts began rewriting her own past, trying to create a timeline where she'd always known Superman existed, where his presence was always inevitable. She was erasing her own confusion to resolve the paradox. Vision pulled her back, breaking the connection. She collapsed, gasping. It didn't work. My powers didn't fail, they corrected me. Like I was the error, not him. The Fantastic Four convened with the Illuminati, Reed Richards, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, Namor, Professor Xavier. The greatest minds in Universe 16 minds gathered to solve an impossible problem. Xavier attempted a telepathic scan, the most powerful psychic on Earth, capable of locating any mutant across the globe, of touching minds light years distant. He made contact with Superman's consciousness and immediately withdrew, his nose bleeding. His mind isn't shielded, it's not hostile, it's just complete. There's no doubt in him, no uncertainty, no fear of inadequacy. Telepathy works by finding cracks, the gaps between who you are and who you think you are. He has no gaps. His identity and his reality are the same object. Black Bolt signed a question. Can he be killed? Strange answered. The question itself is breaking down. I've consulted the Book of Vishanti, the Darkhold, every mystical text that defines death. They're all updating in real time. Death is being redefined as what applies to beings unlike him. The concept is becoming comparative rather than universal. Stark leaned back. So, we're not dealing with someone powerful. We're dealing with someone definitive. He's not in the universe. He's becoming the standard the universe measures itself against. Galactus arrived on Earth 3 days later. The Devourer of Worlds, a fundamental cosmic force driven by hunger that predated mortal concepts of need. He came to feed on Earth's energy and stopped. For the first time in billions of years, Galactus experienced uncertainty. His scanners detected Superman. His power cosmic, the fundamental force of the universe itself, attempted to measure the Kryptonian. The power cosmic hesitated. Impossible, Galactus spoke, his voice shaking space-time. I am inevitable. I am hunger given form. I am... Superman floated up to meet him at eye level. He said nothing, simply looked at Galactus with calm, sad eyes. The Devourer of Worlds felt something he'd never experienced. The sensation of being pitied, not feared, not challenged, pitied, as if his cosmic hunger was a medical condition that could be cured with the right intervention. Galactus departed, not retreating, not defeated. He simply left. The Silver Surfer remained behind, landing near the Fantastic Four. He told me something, the Surfer said quietly. Galactus, in our private communion. He said, I cannot devour a world that contains an absolute. My hunger is vast, but it requires proportion. That being has none. He is undiluted. To consume Earth now would mean consuming him, and if I did that, I would not grow stronger. I would simply become more him than me. Reed stared upward at the departing cosmic entity. So even cosmic abstracts are subject to this. Whatever Superman is, he's operating at a level where reality itself treats him as contagious. The living tribunal appeared. Not to Earth, appearing on a planet would imply taking a side. It manifested in the space between dimensions, summoning Doctor Strange, the Watcher, and eternity itself to bear witness. The tribunal had 3 faces: equity, necessity, vengeance. It existed to maintain cosmic balance, to judge when universal laws required intervention. All 3 faces spoke simultaneously. We cannot judge him. Strange stepped forward. Cannot or will not? Cannot. Our function is comparison. We measure one force against another and determine which must yield. This being, he is not a force. He is not measurable. He is not comparative. Then what is he? Strange demanded. Complete. Every universe develops internal rules, ceilings, limits, conservation laws. These rules allow conflict, growth, narrative. This being comes from a universe with different rules, not stronger rules, simpler ones. In his universe, heroism itself is fundamental, not earned, not questioned. It simply is. He carries that simplicity with him, and your universe, which is built on complexity, does not know how to process it. Eternity spoke, the living embodiment of Universe 616 itself. Its voice was every voice, every language, every moment of communication ever uttered within its bounds. I am being simplified, not destroyed, not conquered, but streamlined, reduced. Before he arrived, I contained infinite complexity, branching timelines, paradoxes, contradictions. Now those contradictions are resolving, collapsing into singular truths. I am becoming easier to understand, and I do not know if I can stop it. The Watcher, breaking his oath for the 2nd time in his immortal existence, spoke. I have watched this pattern before. In Universe 892, a being of pure mathematical order entered a realm of chaos. Within 6 cycles, That universe had reduced to a single equation, all life, all matter, all time, expressed in one formula. The inhabitants didn't die, they were solved. Superman is not doing this intentionally, but his presence is an answer, and this universe keeps posing questions that lead back to him. The living tribunal turned all three faces toward Strange. There is no villain here, no invasion, only incompatibility. He is hope made physics. Your universe runs on struggle, his runs on triumph. When they overlap, triumph wins, Strange finished, because you can't negotiate with certainty. Correct, and so we offer a choice, not to him. He does not understand the problem. To you, to this universe's defenders. What choice? Strange asked. Allow him to remain and accept transformation. Your universe will simplify, conflicts will resolve toward goodness, suffering will decline, hope will become structural rather than aspirational. You will lose complexity, moral ambiguity, narrative tension. You will gain certainty. Or we isolate this universe entirely, sever it from the multiverse, trap it in temporal suspension until he departs or until both he and your reality decay to quantum foam. It will take 400 billion years. Everyone you know will die, but the multiverse will be protected from simplification. Strange looked at the Watcher. The Watcher looked at eternity. Eternity looked at all of them, with every eye of every being in Universe 616. How long do we have? Strange asked. The process is already 41% complete, the tribunal said. At current rates, your universe will achieve full simplification in 17 years. What does that look like? Full simplification. Narratively unsatisfying perfection. All conflicts will resolve in favor of the most moral outcome. Villains will reform or be removed. Diseases will cure themselves. Poverty will become logistically impossible. You will live in a universe where good always wins. Dr. Strange stood silent for a long moment. And you're telling me that's a problem? It is not growth. It is conclusion. A story that ends well is still ended. We leave the choice to you. The tribunal vanished. The Watcher returned to observation. Eternity remained, waiting for an answer from its own inhabitants about whether it should continue to exist in its current form. Dr. Strange returned to Earth. He called a meeting. Not the Avengers, not the Illuminati. Everyone, every hero, every reformed villain, every being with a stake in the universe's survival. He explained the situation, the choice, the consequences. Tony Stark spoke first. So we're deciding between hard-won hope and guaranteed hope, between earning our victories and having them provided. Yes, Strange said. Captain America stood. I've fought for this world for over a century. I've seen it at its worst and believed in its best. If we choose certainty over struggle, we're not saving the world, we're ending it. A world without the possibility of failure is a world without the meaning of courage. Superman, who'd been listening from a distance, finally spoke. I never wanted this. I came here by accident. If my presence hurts you, I'll leave. You can't, Reed Richards said quietly. The damage is done. Not damage, change. Your arrival already happened. The universe already adapted. Even if you leave now, it'll take millennia for causality to forget you. Thor stepped forward. Then we must choose not what is easy, but what is worthy. A universe of guaranteed victory is Valhalla without the battle. It is the feast without the hunt. I vote we remain as we are, complex, flawed, and ours. The vote was not unanimous. Many voted for simplification, for the certainty of goodness, for a universe where children didn't starve and heroes didn't fail and hope wasn't a gamble. But the majority voted for complexity, for the right to struggle, for a universe that could still surprise itself. Dr. Strange turned to the living tribunal, knowing it was watching. We choose ourselves. Isolate us if you must. We'll take the long road. We'll take the heat, death, and the decay, but we'll take it as us. The tribunal's response came not in words, but in action. A barrier formed around Universe 616, not a prison, but a quarantine, separating it from the multiverse, sealing it with Superman inside. Strange looked at Superman. "I'm sorry, you're trapped here now, with us, for as long as it takes." Superman smiled, not with triumph, but with understanding. "I've been trapped in worse places, and if I can help while I'm here." "That's the problem," Strange said. "You will help. You can't stop yourself. And every time you do, we'll become a little more like you, a little more certain, until one day we won't recognize what we've become." Reed Richards was already working on a solution, a dimensional anchor, a way to slow the simplification process. It would take decades to build, maybe centuries, but it was something. The Watcher observed in silence, forbidden to intervene, bound to witness. He saw a universe choosing suffering over salvation, complexity over resolution, and for the first time in his eternal existence, he wondered if they were right. Superman stood on the edge of the Baxter Building, looking out over a universe that feared what he represented. Not his power, his certainty, his refusal to compromise or doubt or fail. "I spent my whole life trying to give people hope," he said quietly. "I didn't know hope could be a contagion." Dr. Strange joined him at the edge. "It's not hope we're afraid of. It's inevitability. You don't inspire us to be better. You make better the only option. And that's not heroism. That's physics." The sky above them flickered, the barrier solidifying, the quarantine completing. Universe 616 was alone now, sealed with an absolute it could not overcome, could not understand, and could not refuse. This is not the darkest timeline. It is only the first where goodness learned to metastasize. Next episode, what if Goku met a universe where fighting made you weaker?